Hey, Big Dave the Middle-Aged Gamer here, and we got another Diablo 4 class guide for you today. Last time we took a look into the Sorcerer, give you the best hits and tricks to build the best build you can. Today we are doing the Sorcerer. Now, as you can see, Sorcerer don't look all that much different from the Necromancer, and for the most part he's not. Both magician-based, both don't want to really get to the thick of combat unless they have to. But the big difference is the flavor of magic. Like I stated before, with the Necromancer it was blood, bone, and shadow. But with the Sorcerer, it's fire, ice, and lightning, or as I like to call it, cinnamon, cotton candy, and blue raspberry. So as you can see, I got a fire mage build going on here, and if you remember before, I told you about the Golem quest that you get with the Necromancer at level 25. We're going to get to this first. At level 15, you get the Sorcerer's quest to get something called an enchantment. Now what that does is it allows you to put a couple of your spells into these slots here, which turn these spells passive. Now what that means is that they fire off and do whatever. And if you look at each spell, it has, an enchantment. If you put it into enchantment, it shows you what it does as a passive. Now for the fire spells, I chose Fireball, which is here, and I chose Firewall, which is here. Now we'll get to exactly what they do later on, but I wanted to get that out of the way first, because that's how the main difference on this build here. And yes, I guess that's another commonality between the Necromancer and the Sorcerer, is that to access your special quest-based thing, you gotta hit the S button, or whatever it is on your console, because I'm playing on PC, to access your new special thing. Now, going back, same basic tree type. I mean, it's the same for everybody. You got your basics. So I went into fire. So there's only one fire spell. Went into it. And then you get into your core spells, and there's two of them here. As you see, Fireball. This is the one that I made passive. And you read the passive effect. It says when you kill an enemy, they explode in a fireball for 50% of its damage, which means it doesn't hit as hard as if I shot it myself. But anytime I kill someone, it's an automatic corpse explosion, which is kind of nice. Now going back to Firebolt, because I'm bouncing around here, don't mind me, coffee's at its full effect. It's pretty straight up stuff. Shoot a little bolt that does damage, and does a lot of damage over time. That's the key thing here with fire magic, is it's all damage over time effects. Now you can stack damage and make the damage over time last longer. It's an interesting way to handle crowd control, as everybody dies just a little bit faster, from being in the fringe of whatever. Now, if you see this, the modifiers I added on, it pierces through enemies that are already burning, which means you get to hit multiples. And when I hit a burning enemy, I get 2 mana out of it, which means I get to heal my mana a little bit faster. Now, we're going to go to Incinerate, which is the next one I chose. This is the core, which is right here. And basically, it's your fire beam, and you get to spin around and act like one of those Super Mario fireball things that you find in the castles. And the longer you concentrate on one enemy, though, the damage over time actually increases. So while there is something to be said for spinning around like a lunatic, there is something more to be said about concentrating on one person. Now, looking at the modifiers, it's actually really good for those that are in your face, because while it's not huge damage, 15% of the damage means they're still getting toasted for a little bit. And enemies that get burned from this will actually end up dealing a bit less damage to you, which is kind of nice. And I was thinking about putting this as an enchantment. Every 18 seconds, a serpent spawns and incinerates enemies for 8 seconds. It's kind of nice, actually. But we'll move on, and I'll show you some other things here. Now you get your defensive spell I put here, Flame Shield, which, as you can read, engulfs your enemies in flames for 2 seconds, burning surrounding enemies for 220 for pretty good damage. And while the Flame Shield is active, you're immune, which means you can't be hurt, which is beautiful. And the modifiers I got on this: while it's active, I move faster, and it heals me for half of my missing life. So, say my health bar is down to the halfway mark here. If I hit it, it goes up half of that, so up to about 3/4, which is pretty nice when you're almost dead and you need that panic button. It'll bring you up to around here somewhere, which is pretty nice. If I decide to make this one passive, it would automatically activate when I take fatal damage. It only happens once every 2 minutes. No. Hydra. Everybody remembers this one. This one dates back all the way from Diablo 1. Summons a 3-headed Hydra for 8 seconds, no learning, and it spits fire, dealing 68 damage. You can have a maximum of 2 active Hydras at a time. And while health, and modifiers I have while healthy, I get initial head, so it becomes a 4-headed Hydra, and it burns enemies for an additional 12% of its base damage dealt over 6 seconds, so more damage over time. As an enchantment, it would go as every time I spend 300 mana, which is basically every time I go through my orb 3 times. A 5-headed Hydra spawns for 5 seconds. Alright, now we're getting to my other enchantment. Firewall creates a wall of flames that burns enemies for 911 damage. Nice. Over 8 seconds. Enemies take 25% increased burning damage from the wall standing in the wall, and you gain a 5% increased mana regeneration per active firewall up to 25%. The enchantment is anytime an enemy takes burning damage, there's a 5% chance to spawn 2 firewalls underneath them for 3 seconds. So for 3 seconds I get 10% increased mana regeneration anytime I burn somebody. So if I burn a lot of enemies at the same time, that's a lot of firewalls going up, which means I can heal up my mana pretty quickly. Nice. And considering some of the tricks I have, that just makes it even better. Alright, now we have Meteor, which it just brings a meteor down to the ground, does a fair amount of damage, and extra damage over time. And if you modifiers, if my meteor hits 3 or more enemies, there's a 30% chance of an additional one falling on the same location, which is alright. And the meteor falls 30% faster, which is honestly, I think, really useful because, yeah, if it comes down slower, enemies have a chance to get the hell out of the way. You don't want that. So, moving on, and then we have the ultimate here, which is Inferno, which summons a fiery serpent that continually constricts the target area, burning enemies for a lot of damage. And modifiers being repeatedly pulls enemies to its center, which means more enemies toasted. And while it is active, my pyromancy skills cost no mana, which means while that is up and running, everything is free, which means spam to your heart's delight. And then at the very end, we get to the key passives, which is where you center these builds around. And I chose burning effects because that's the way I'm building this. Your burning effects deal 2% increased damage per unique source of burning you have applied to the enemy. If the enemy is burning from 3 or more sources, this bonus is doubled. And believe it or not, it's easier to do it than you think. Anytime you hit an enemy, firewall goes up, so there's 2 right there, 1 plus whatever you use. Okay, you got the meteor, you got the Hydra, you got the flame shield, somebody gets in your face, you can spam that real quick. You got the incinerate running around like a lunatic, somebody dies, that's a fireball, that's another one in your face, and then you got the firebolt if you're out of mana. So there are plenty of ways you can deal damage and have this kick in, and it adds up quickly. Alright, then becomes an extra 12% burning damage bonus, which adds up quick. Alright, there's another key passive. Each one has 2. The other one was your fire critical strike percentage is increased by 25%, your damage, is increased by 25% against enemies above 50 life, and increased by 5 against enemies below it. Killing an enemy with a critical strike grants both bonuses against all enemies for 3 seconds. Now, Critical strikes don't fire up enough. Now we'll get to that in just a little bit. Actually, we'll do it right now. I just gotta find it. Where is it? This wasn't it. No. Did he have it, or did no? Oh no, it was the Necromancer that had it. Never mind. I was gonna say there was a lucky strike. Oh, here it is. Precision magic. The lucky hit chances increased by 5%, and you get 3 stacks with it, which you can get up to 15%. Okay, I've talked your ear off enough on how this builds. Let's take a look at it in action and see how this works. I need to get there for this run, so we're gonna go there. And never you mind about the pin that I did. Once I'm done with all the classes, I will do a basic tips and tricks to get you started with this. And apologies if it's all taking so long, but there's just one, so much I gotta go through with this, and two, I don't have any help doing this. I'm doing every single part of this, speaking, the gameplay, everything. So it does make things, slow things down a considerable bit. Okay, here we go. We got some things. Put the hyper right in the middle.
I'm out of mana. Low on precious mana.
So as he's burning, you see his health bar going down every little bit. Now, as you get higher up in levels and you start getting more of the skill points, you start putting them in the passes, they're going to hit a lot harder. But you get the rough idea of how this works. All right.
Out of mana once again.
And another thing about the Sorcerer is it's sarcastic as hell. Do you hear what he said there? Out of mana once again. Like it's a common occurrence, actually, kind of is. Oh wow, it's got better armor. Okay, so there is a cellar here. We're going to go down there in just a bit, but we're going to change things up a little bit. We're going to refund all. Now, we're going to show you the next one. Next one step, we're going to do the Ice Mage. Crossbolt, your basic, chills. Alright, we're going to throw Enhanced Frostbolt, and anytime it hits a chilled enemy, it has a chance to explode. And we're going to do one more, and we're going to, let's see, Flickering Frostbolt, makes him vulnerable for 3 seconds, or let's get more mana. Yeah, there's such thing as too much mana. Alright, now we got Frozen Orb, and we got Ice Shards. Now, we're going to take Ice Shards. We're going to make that an enchantment. Why? Ice Shards automatically conjure and fly towards frozen enemies. So you can see what kind of build I plan on doing here with this one. Alright, let's bring it back up. Modify on Bolt. Enhance Frozen Orb. And you get more mana with that. I'm going to go with more mana because I like more mana. Enhanced Ice Shards, and what do we have here? A barrier active for... I'm gonna choose this, and you're gonna see why in just a second. I'm gonna scroll down, and we've got 2 defensive spells here. Alright, we're gonna choose Ice Armor, and we're also gonna choose Frost Nova. I'm not gonna put either in as an enchantment. And you'll see why in just a little bit. Alright. Enhanced Ice Armor. Alright, Ice Armor, you get a barrier of ice forming around you. So now you see why I chose the barrier thing. Alright, it absorbs 30% of your base life and damage, and while it's active, 5% of your damage dealt added to its barrier. Modifying improves mana regeneration, which is always nice. And we're gonna... enemies that hit you while ice armor is active have a 15% chance to become frozen for 3 seconds. Remember what I said before, we're doing a frozen build here. You could do a vulnerable build. Well, but I prefer the frozen because it's a little more severe and it's more indicative of what ice is supposed to be about. Now, looking at the Frost Nova, which is a great oh crap everything's around me button, killing enemies frozen by Frost Nova, this is the first modifier, reduces its cooldown by 1 second, up to 4 seconds per cast. Which means, hey, more Frost Novas? Yes. Shimmering Frost, alright, actually I forgot to tell you what Frost Nova does. Unleashes a torrent of frost, freezing enemies around you for 3 seconds. Now, Shimmering Frost Nova generates 4 mana per enemy hit, or make enemies vulnerable. I like the mana. We've discussed that on numerous occasions. Now these are the conjuration skills. Ice Blades, which is fun. Ice Blades conjures a pair of them for 6 seconds and rapidly slash enemies for 126 damage and have a 30% chance to make them vulnerable for 2 seconds. Alright. Wait a minute. I knew something didn't seem right. Forgot to take ice shards out of there. There we go, that makes more sense. Alright, Ice Blade's cooldown called reduced by half a second each time it hits a vulnerable enemy. Well, I'm not doing vulnerable, so it's not that useful, but still need to get it to access these others. The other options are 20% of enhanced Ice Blade's cooldowns applied to your other skills, or increased attack speed for active Ice Blade. I prefer more cooldown for the other skills, and brings everything else out faster. Alright, now we have Blizzard. Funny thing to name from a company of the same name. And summons a blizzard, but that's not what we're going to do with it. Let's modify it first, though. And continually chills enemies, it's nice. Blizzard deals 25% increased damage to frozen enemies, yes. And then you have Mage's Blizzard, when cast above 50 mana, durations increased by 4 seconds, or when you have an active Blizzard, your core skills cost 10% less mana. We're going to go there, but, and you're going to see why in just a second. That's going to become our other enchantment, because as you see, for every 15 seconds, a Blizzard forms above you and follows you for 6 seconds, which means you're always guaranteed to pop one off, no matter what. So, get that up. So, go back here. Get that out of there. See? And, uh-oh, we've got... Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to max out Crossbow. So our basic does a bit more damage, which is always nice. Now we're going to get to our ultimate, which is Deep Freeze. Encases yourself in ice, becoming immune for 4 seconds continually, dealing damage and chilling enemies for 14%. When Deep Freeze expires, it deals an additional 550 damage. Casting it again ends the effect early. Alright, Prime Deep Freeze, when it ends, you gain 10% of your base life as a barrier for 6 seconds for each enemy you froze while it was active. Wicked. And then Supreme Deep Freeze, when it ends, your non-ultimate cooldowns are reduced by 50%. So it's a great thing to have when you've run out of mana. Alright, now, we're going to add more damage to our Ice Shards. Not our Frozen Orb, because, as you can see, more damage means the it will affect the passive as well. So we're just waiting for the glow, which we did not get yet. Oh, nope, we didn't. Of course not. Alright, now we're going to start putting in towards a better Frozen Orb. That will unlock the key passives. Our options are Lucky Hit. Lucky Hit. Frost skills have up to a 10% chance to make your next cast of Ice Shards Frozen Orb of no mana and deal 40% increased damage. Chances double against vulnerable enemies. Or, after freeze expires, enemies explode for 25% of the damage you dealt to them while frozen. This is a frozen build, that's where you go. If you're doing a vulnerable build, you choose Avalanche. That's simple. Now, we're going to go into the Decrepit Cellar. We're going to see how this works. confetti pile. Yum. Make the place look like a War album cover. Alright, coffee. You see how effective that is when you put them all together. Holy shit. Okay, now, but that wasn't the boss. I'm sure you noticed that. For this one, you activate the healing well, put the armor up.
I'm out of mana.
Well, that didn't work very well. That's not the build, that's just me being cocky. I fully admit it.
I lack the needed mana.
That also
Out of mana once again.
It's working, I'm just having bad luck here. Now, trick with this. Like I said, you gotta keep the blades up. Hope that helps. Now the hurt is coming down, it should be a lot. The blades up.
I lack the needed mana.
Okay, maybe not the best example I've ever done with this, but you can't argue with the results. Got anything good here? Well, slightly better chest armor. So that lightning damage. Which we will be getting into, actually. And we'll use this as a chance to refund. Now it's time to show you the lightning move. Alright, now first thing you notice is that we have two basic skills here. Spark, which launches a bolt of lightning that shocks an enemy 4 times, dealing 47 damage a hit. And killing an enemy has a 10% chance to form a crackling energy. Crackling energy I'm not exactly sure what this is. And then you have Arc Lash. Unleashes arc lightning that deals 251 damage to enemies in front of you. Every 10 times Arc Lash swipes, it stuns all enemies around it for 2 seconds. Alright, now you only really need one basic. 2's kind of silly. The Crackling Energy is an enchantment. So, we're going to enchant Spark. Killing an enemy has a 10% chance to form a Crackling Energy, so we'll get more of a chance to see what that's about. So, Spark is gone, our Flash is in. We're going to move these up, enhance Spark. Every time Spark hits the primary target, it has a 40% chance to build up 3 additional. Hit up to 3 additional enemies, dealing 33 damage. If there are no other enemies to hit, Spark will deal more damage to the primary target. Sounds nice. They have Glinting Spark, which increases critical strike chance. Or, every time Spark enemy hits an enemy, it has a 3% chance to form a Crackling Energy. Well, if that's what the enchantment is, let's hope that along the way. Now, looking at Arc Lash, modification. If Arc Lash's initial swipe critically strikes, it swipes an additional time. Sounds good. Flickering Arc Lash gains 6% movement speed for 5 seconds per enemy hit with Arc Lash, up to 18%. Okay. Or hitting a stunned enemy with Arc Lash reduces its cooldowns by 0.15 seconds. That's something. So we'll do that. Okay. We're already up to defense, and we haven't even gotten to cores yet. We got 2 cores. We have Chain Lightning or Charge Bolts. I'm going to put Charge Bolts here. Releases 5 bolts of lightning cars along the ground in an erratic pattern, dealing damage. And when you stun an enemy, there's 40%. Oh, that's in the enchantment. But we're not going to do that. Enhanced Charge Bolts. Hitting the enemy at least 3 times with the same cast releases a Lightning Nova. Wow. Okay, yeah. Greater Charge Bolts deals 25% increased damage to stunned enemies, or hitting an enemy with Charge Bolts increases their damage dealt by 20% for 3 seconds. Stunning seems to be the way to go with this. Actually, I'm going to move up here. Yeah, stunning seems to be the way to go with this. Okay. Now, we're going to bring up Chain Lightning and immediately kick it, since that is going to be our other enchantment. Enchantment effect Chain Lightning forms automatically after spending 100 mana. Well, it's going to be real easy to do that. So, drag it down here. Now, let's modify it. 3% increased critical strike chance per bounce. Yes. If it bounces off you, next hit deals 10% increased damage. Or a critical chance. Let's go with the bounce off me. Yes. Murphy's Law and all that. Okay, Teleport. For our 1 defensive spell, we're going to grab that. Transform into lightning, becoming unstoppable. And surges to the perfect location, dealing 179 damage around you upon arrival. Unstoppable just basically means you cannot be crowd controlled. Enhanced target. Teleport cooldowns decreased by half a second per enemy hit, up to 3 seconds. Nice. And we have Physical Teleport for 4 seconds after teleporting. Crackling energy hits 2 additional enemies. Or Shimmering Teleport after teleporting, you gain 3% damage reduction for 3 seconds. Yes. I like being a little bit tanky. Moving on, we have Lightning Spear. We're going to grab that. This is a conjuration. Lightning Spear. Conscious Spear that seeks out enemies for 6 seconds, dealing 89 damage per hit. Okay. And then we have Enhanced Lightning Spear. After critically striking Lightning Spear, it gains 5% increased stacking critical strike chance. So basically, more crits. Fine. Summon Lightning Spear, attacking crackling energy, increases the damage of your next spear cast by 20%, or stuns enemies for 2 seconds when critically striking. Let's take the stun. Now we're up to the mastery skills, and we got 1, Ball Lightning. Discharge a ball of lightning that slowly moves forward, continually zapping enemies for 107 damage. The first enhancement is increased damage rate increased by 200% of your attack speed bonus. So something to look into there. And then we have either Mage's Ball Lightning, which after hitting close enemies 50 times within your next cast of it stuns enemies hit for 1 second. Or Wizard's Ball Lightning, if the enemy is hit at least 4 times by a ball of lightning, crackling energy is formed. Going with stunning. Those are lightning improvements. Uh-oh. Okay. Now it's time to go back. You know, we're just going to max out this park. Have the passive do better. Okay, here's our ultimate Unstable Currents. Lightning surges within you for 10 seconds. Whenever you cast a shock skill, a random core conjuration or mastery shock skill is also cast. And bumped. We have Prime Unstable Currents, increases your attack speed by 25% while active. Okay, yeah, there you go. That ties in with the stunning aspect of that mastery. Prime Unstable Currents, while it's active, crackling energy continually pulses and consumes no charges. I don't really do much with it, but that's still be interesting. And we can max out one more thing, so that's going to be Arc Lash. And we still need one more, so we'll point into our Enchanted Chain Lightning, and that unlocks the Supreme key passes. We have Overflowing Energy. Crackling Energy hits 1 additional energy anytime it hits an enemy. Your shock skill cooldown reduced by 0.1 seconds, increased to a quarter of a second against the leaks. Excuse me. Or, close enemies taking 10% increased damage from your shock skills and deal 20% less damage to you. Critical strike increases this bonus by 25%. Haven't been doing much with Crackling Energy, so we'll go with the other one. But basically, you're looking at Crackling Energy versus Stunning. I like immobilizing enemies, but that's just me. So why don't we get the hell out of here, and we're going to take a look at this and see how this works. Oh, would you look at that?
I'm out of mana. I'm not ready yet.
Okay, I'm glad you teleport to a full so you see the full thing there. It's a great get your ass out of dodge spell. Anything good? Okay. Now, as you can see, now you get a rough idea of how each type works. Now, just like the last question, you gotta ask yourself, which one do I gotta choose? Well, that's easy. You go to inventory, and you're gonna look at your legendary items. We got one. We got Flame Shield, and we've got a Hydra, and you saw the armor with the flame damage. So, for me, at least for right now, the obvious choice is where I started. You're going to see a recurring theme here. Did I choose? Not right. No. Oh crap, oh crap, oh crap. I'm not ready yet! Okay, should be quiet here. Now, since we were forced to interrupt, evolve. Keep it out. Max it out. Great.
Out of mana.
Probably do this in town. So, yeah, a little thing there, a little tip. Don't refund while you're out in the middle of nowhere. Things can come back and attack. Do it in town where it's nice and safe. There's your first little tip. Alright. Get this back. We'll give another run through. Mana's always good. Damage over time, which is the basis. Firewall. Enchantment, throwback, move, modify, regen, meteor, so that's how I like my dishes. Meteor falls faster. You know, the other one can immobilize, but it's such a slow drop. For the basis of this build, impatience is a virtue. Let's bring it all the way up. Here I want to put that point into Incinerate. And we went with, what did I say again? Oh right, multiple burnings. Okay, so there we are. Now you have a rough idea of how this works. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to get the latest updates as they come in. The next chapter in this will be the Druid, so expect that video dropping in the next couple of days. This is Big Gang, the Middle Age Gamer. This is Diablo 4, and I'll see y'all next time.